Discrimination and racial profiling have always been present in the US, no matter consciously or subconsciously. So it seemed depressingly familiar when we all heard the story of Michael Brown, an African American teenager who was shot by a white policeman. What makes the story of Ferguson so different from other similar stories is that both left and right leaning news sources took similar views, and both seem to disagree heavily with the moderate news sources. Did the major media do mostly a thorough and accurate job of covering and explaining Ferguson, or did they completely botch everything with inaccurate reports and nonstop rumors? So as soon as the shooting occurred, the internet practically blew up with rumors and accusations. Let's take a look at what some popular news sources said at the beginning of this investigation.
Megan.
Trace, thank you. And Michael Brown's attorney was on another network tonight, continuing to suggest that Darren Wilson shot Michael Brown in part due to his racial animus. There's no evidence of that.
That report provoked this reaction from CNN's senior legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin.
These two witnesses describe what seems to me to be a cold-blooded murder.
A perfectly reasonable reaction. And that was CNN presenting those witness accounts secondhand, summarized through a reporter. They had no recording of what those witnesses actually said, but it was enough to finally demonstrate to Jeffrey Toobin that there is testimonial evidence now in the case of murder.
So what Fox News and MSNBC were saying is that there really wasn't any solid evidence directly after the shooting. However, people started jumping to conclusions. Of course this is wrong, and Lawrence O'Donnell rightfully bashed CNN for using such extreme words with such little knowledge. The thing is, can we really blame the people for assuming it was Darren Wilson's fault after hearing what had happened? I mean, how many stories have we heard before and after Ferguson with racial discrimination? Eric Garner, Tony Robinson, Freddie Gray? Who would have thought that in this particular case it was different and Darren Wilson truly had the right to shoot? So MSNBC was beating up on CNN for making assumptions that it really shouldn't have, and I completely agree with that. But the thing is, MSNBC also had a few faults of its own while dealing with the whole Ferguson analysis. For example, in this next video, you will see who they brought in to talk to about discrimination.
No, actually, it's addressing the people who are making these terroristic threats, and letting them know that the people of Missouri, they have rights too.
Exactly why would you bring in a member of the KKK to speak about racial discrimination? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, they are clearly biased against African Americans. So the fact that you're bringing in someone where the world already knows how much they hate like this certain race, I don't even understand why you put them on national television. So we have with us now Dr. Maxson, an expert on history, current events, and news. Dr. Maxson, you know how important it is when an event this big takes place that the news has to do a good job on bringing the information to the people. Do you think that all these news coverage people and social media did a good job informing everyone, or do you think they could have done better?
I think the media did a good job covering Ferguson, and that they finally recognized it as worth acting on. And I think the fact that more media sources picked it up and that they continued it, I think is good, and I think that's different. I think there's a lot of previous cases where there was an initial interest in it and then that stopped very quickly, and now it's being recognized as a sustained problem, which I think is a good thing.
So my take on the whole coverage of Ferguson is that it really wasn't the best that it could have been. Obviously, no one can control what people say on social media, and people are free to say, what they want to say. But with these news sources, I think that they were so busy making fun of each other and criticizing what everyone had to say that they skipped a lot of things that needed to be said. And I think it's important that they definitely should have covered a lot more. For example, why is this happening, and the fact that another black kid was shot, that should say something, and that we should change, something about that. So I think that we were so busy focusing on what other people had to say that no one took the step up to say what really needed to be said. And I also think that the protests, although they were big, I think that our media could also have covered that better. They either caught the worst of it or none at all. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope that you gained some new insight on Ferguson and the media. Thank you so much for watching.